Welcome, everyone, to the Stressful to Successful podcast with your co-hosts, Tiffany Chasen and myself, Jaden D'Amico. On this episode, we have a wonderful woman here by the name of Jen, who is the proud owner of Jen's Gym. Jen, will you introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure, I'd love to. What's up, you guys? My name is Jen. I'm the owner of Jen's Gym. I'm a women's weight loss expert, CNC, who personally lost 50 pounds 7 years ago, and I've kept it off and helped over 1,000 women through their weight loss journey transformations.
That's awesome. I wanted to know, what is your favorite type of workout right now?
For me, I'm definitely in my weightlifting era, but not living in the gym. So right now, there's so many different amazing, incredible workouts that you could be doing. I feel like Pilates is super popular.
That's my favorite.
Yeah. And so I love Pilates, I love weightlifting, and I got really into boxing last year. And that for me was so much fun because I felt so strong, so empowered. And like, it kind of gives you this level of confidence. I mean, I'm sure really if I had to like knock a guy out, I probably couldn't, but that was super fun. But still, weightlifting girl through and through. I love just like the traditional squats, hip thrusts, bench press, all that stuff. I feel it's a very fun for me.
That's awesome. I honestly think that it's a great way to get your anger out too, or just get your like built up like anger out. I think it's really fun. What is a big misconception you think a lot of people have when it comes to weight loss?
I would say that there's a lot of judgment just in the weight loss industry as a whole. Like, first of all, I feel like people think, oh, losing weight can't be fun, or your life has to suck, and you can't go out and have a good social life, and you have to sacrifice everything, because there's so many misconceptions around what it actually takes to lose weight in a balanced and sustainable way. And then I also think there's a lot of judgment on both sides. Like, this was something that I personally experienced when I was heavy. I was made fun of for being heavy, for being overweight, for having like cottage cheese legs. But then at one point in my journey, I was so lean that people were calling me anorexic. They were calling me names. Like, it was like you could never satisfy anyone. So it's really tough because a friend tells you, hey, I want to lose weight. The first thing you do is say, oh my God, no, like you're fine. You look great. Like, let's go get ice cream and talk about how great you are. And so it's really hard to be supportive because you also don't want to be like, yeah, you could stand to lose a few pounds. So
I don't think that would go very well.
Yeah, so there's kind of this like really tough balance between like being a supportive friend while also like not criticizing your friend.
That makes a lot of sense, and I feel like it is very much a fine line between figuring out how to be helpful and not. I also think that when you're trying to give that type of advice, it can come off one person's version of healthy may not look the same as someone else's version of healthy. So someone that is naturally lean sometimes gets made fun of for those type of tendencies of them if they looked really skinny, versus somebody else, maybe they're supposed to be a little bit heavier. Maybe that's how their natural healthy body looks like.
It's like anyone who's skinny wants to be bigger. Anyone who's bigger wants to be small. And if you're in the middle, it's just like, what do you do with yourself?
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's just like such a tough spot to be in. And I think a lot of people are like nervous to say that they want to lose weight. It's really interesting working with clients. Like, I'll be on a call and be like, hey, so what's your goal? And they'll like hesitate to tell me that they want to lose 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds because now with the body positivity movement, I'm so glad that we are teaching women, young, middle, and in their later areas of life, like, you do want to be body positive, you do want to accept yourself where you're at. And with that, sometimes people literally get shamed for also wanting to take control of your health, right? And there is this fine line. Health is defined differently for every single individual. You can have two people the exact same weight with completely different body compositions, lifestyle, health metrics. And sometimes we're now scared to say, I want to lose weight because you're going to get canceled, you know?
That's true. Cancel culture has been very prevalent, which must not be easy in your industry at all.
It's definitely tough having an online presence in the peak of cancel culture.
I was going to ask you about that. So you have quite a big following on TikTok and Instagram. How did you go about posting on there knowing that's how you wanted to build your brand, or did it kind of happen organically, or how did you go about that?
It was a mixture of both. You know, I started posting on Instagram probably back in 2018, and I remember thinking like, man, if I could just have like 5,000 followers, I could really help some people. And I just wanted to inspire them. You know, I had gone through this weight loss journey, and I remember like printing photos off of Pinterest and sort of putting them on a pin board of other people's weight loss journeys and before and afters that really inspired me. So I thought I would love to inspire someone else. And so I remember thinking like, I just want 5,000 Instagram followers. That would be so cool. And then it just kept growing. And then eventually became what I do full time.
That's awesome. When did you start doing it full time? Was it when you hit a certain following, like number of followers, or was it just like a gut feeling that you wanted to pursue it full time?
So it's kind of a long story. How much time do we have?
We have like an hour and a half, 2 hours, 4.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. Around an hour and a half would be okay.
Yeah, okay. Because it's funny because I think a lot of people see my audience and they assume that I'm an influencer and content creator full time, but really posting on social media is what allows me to do my job, which is the online coaching aspect. So I think I started posting on social media end of 2017, beginning of 2018. And again, I just really wanted to inspire people on their health and fitness journeys. But what I found was a lot of companies were reaching out wanting to do brand deals. So like fitness clothing companies, supplements, different things like that. And at the time I had a full-time job. I was working at a small business, a local e-commerce company that sold unbreakable sunglasses for kids and babies. So shout out Rochambeau Baby. I love them. Like I loved working there. It was the only job that I ever had coming out of college. And my boss was amazing. So they are incredible. And I was working there full time and all these brand deals started coming in. And I remember I agreed to work with this supplement brand and at that point I had maybe 10,000 Instagram followers. And unfortunately, they took my before and after photos of my 50-pound weight loss and were like, check out these results of our customer, Jen. And I was like,
Oh.
You've got to be kidding me. Like my heart fell into my stomach because they were falsely advertising these products with my photos. And there was nothing I could do because I signed a contract like saying I could work with them. So I was like calling them, emailing them, like, I will give you your money back. Like, I don't want to be partnered together. I will even pay you back for the supplements. Like, this is so unethical. And I was so angry. And so at that point, I was like, I'm done. No more partnerships, no more brand deals. Like, people are going to falsely use this information. And that's not fair because I was the girl who used to buy the supplements, who used to buy the products thinking, oh, wow, look at this before and after photo.
Like, this is going to work.
Yeah, like, this is totally going to work for me. And I didn't want to be a part of that. And so I just was like, I'm done doing partnerships, different things like that, but I have this following and I really, really want to help people. So what can I do instead? And that's when I found out about online coaching. And again, this was back in 2018 where people were still online coaching, but now it's way more well known. And if you say, like back then, if you were like, yeah, I'm an online fitness coach, people were like, okay, but what's your real job? But now if you say that, people at least understand a little bit about what you do, and they've probably heard of someone who either does it or has been a client. And so I literally remember posting online, and at this point I had about 20,000 followers. And I posted online, I said, hey guys, I'm thinking of getting into coaching. You know, I get messages every single day asking about how I lost weight, how you can lose weight, and I've been sending you guys just like workout plans, meal plans, recipes for free. I love doing it. But I really want to make a greater impact if I took on coaching clients who would be interested. And so I posted it on my stories. This was back when you had to like swipe up. You could like link things, and I was like, so swipe up if you're interested.
I remember those days.
Yeah, right? And within those 24 hours that it was on my story, I got 100 applications.
Oh, shoot.
And I was like, holy crap. Like, I was not expecting that. I had no idea. So I went through all the applications, and I think I wound up responding to, or I responded to everyone, but I wound up, enrolling. I think I reached out to 10 women and offered them an opportunity to work together one-on-one, and it was very, very low cost, right? Because I was like, full transparency, you're my first ever client. Like, is this a learning curve? for me, but I would love to help. And so I think I wound up taking, of the 10 women, like 7 responded were like, I'm in. Right. So I sent them like the little PayPal invoice. I didn't have a contract or anything. I just sent them an email. I'm like, this email serves as your contract. Of course, the next day I went and filed an LLC just for legal protection.
Yeah.
But I was like, let's just see what happens. Right. And I remember being so shocked as those first couple of payments were coming in and sitting on my couch looking at my boyfriend being like, oh my gosh.
Dude, this is happening.
Yeah, right? And at the time, I remember thinking like, wow, if I could just make an extra couple $100s to supplement my income at my 9 to 5, I would be super happy. Like at this point in my journey, I was fresh out of college, and I know you and I were having this conversation a moment ago. I think a lot of us were taught by society, you know, work hard in high school so that you can get good grades and get accepted to a good college. And then work hard in college so that you can get good grades, graduate with honors, and get a good job. And then work hard in your job so that you can get promoted and climb your way up the corporate ladder. But when I graduated, at first I had no job. My first job I accepted for $15 an hour, cash under the table. And then it eventually grew into a full-time gig. But I literally couldn't even afford my Wi-Fi bill at one point, and I canceled my internet service at home because I couldn't afford the like $40 payment. And so to have this extra couple $100s a month, you know, 1-2 years down the line, I was like, holy crap, this could really be life-changing. And so that happened, and I soon learned how much work owning a business was and working with one-on-one clients. So I was probably spending 40 hours a week at my full-time job, and then 40 hours a week on my online coaching because I was building everything and creating it all for the first time. So I remember I'd literally get up at 5 a.m., work from 5 to 8, then, you know, have breakfast, take my dog for a walk, get ready for my regular job, then go to work from 9 to 5, right? And then come home and work again from like 6 to 9.
Jeez.
So you had no sleep.
Yeah, no sleep. And like shout out to my roommates, shout out to my partner at the time because they really helped me and they believed in what I was building and what I was creating. And so then at that point I was like, okay, clients are getting results. I love that I'm helping people, but I can't keep working 80, 90 hours a week and expect for this to be sustainable, right? I'm all about sustainability, whether it's in your health, your business, your life, your relationship. And so that's when I hired my first business coach. So someone to really mentor me through how to start a business and build it in a balanced and sustainable way. And within 30 days of doing that, I was then matching my full-time income in my own business.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you. And so 30 days I was matching my income. Within 60 days, I was doubling it. Which, remember, I was not making very much. I was like basically minimum wage, poverty line as a college graduate.
Was that with you adding more clients, or was that just business advice that you got from your coach?
Both. It was taking on more clients, but providing a higher quality service and experience so that I could also increase my pricing.
Got it.
Because I was definitely undervaluing and undercharging. Like, I think I remember doing the math on the clients that I initially enrolled without a process. I was probably making between $2 and $5 an hour working on those projects, which I didn't care because I wasn't doing it for the money. I just wanted to help people. But then I eventually kind of had to be like, okay, well, I either need to be all in here or all in there. And so if I can find a way to make it work, that's what I did. So once I had consistently matched or beat my full-time income from my 9 to 5 in my business, that's when I decided to quit my job and go all in on Jen's Gym.
That is an amazing story. That's incredible. So with your one-to-one coaching, do you normally, is it primarily, are you coaching people through a workout, or is it more so you're giving them like the tools for them to do it themselves?
Yeah, it's very comprehensive. So we really focus on like the 3 pillars of health, which to me would be fitness, nutrition, and mindset. And so we'll give our clients a customized workout plan through my own app, and it'll actually like walk them through the workout, and they can track their sets, their reps, their weights. And then we also see the data on like, how long did it take you to work out? on a scale of 1 to 10, how exhausted did you feel at the end? Like, did you push yourself or were you kind of slacking?
That's a good point to cross, actually.
Yeah, exactly. So we're really like tracking, are they truly exerting themselves? And then like kind of looking at weekly trends in general. And then with the nutrition and mindset piece, for my own weight loss journey, nutrition was primarily what I focused on.
Why do you say that is, if you don't mind me asking?
The nutrition?
Yeah.
So I was dealing with chronic back pain, and I could barely walk like across campus.
Dang.
And so like there were times that the back pain was so bad that I was a senior in college and I would leave class to go sit in my car in the fetal position and just like wait for the surges to go away. And so I was able to work out for a little bit at the beginning of my journey, but primarily, at least during the 50-pound weight loss, it was mostly walking was the primary source of activity. And I didn't start getting into fitness until maybe 2 years after I lost the weight. And that's kind of how I've built the physique that I have now. Because before I lost weight, but I was kind of like a little string bean, you know, as you would be. And I had a lot of loose skin and all those different things. And so kind of bouncing around on stories, but with back pain, it was debilitating. And for 2 years, I was getting all the tests done, blood work, x-rays, MRIs, and my doctors like could not diagnose me with anything. And then I went in for my annual physical, and my general care physician was like, well, you lost a lot of weight. Your weight loss is technically a trauma on the body, like significant weight loss. And so this is probably a reaction to that. Your muscles have completely atrophied because you haven't been active. I want you to start going to yoga and lifting weights. And I remember being so pissed.
Well, you did all this work and now you're like, now I'm paying for it and hurting and...
Right, because I was like, first of all, I don't even know if the weight loss is worth it anymore because I'm in so much excruciating pain. But second of all, I was like convinced that I had some sort of disease or some sort of ailment. Like, why else would I have this back pain? Like, what do you mean I just need to work out? Like, who do you think you are?
Diagnose me, please. I want to fix this.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just give me a pill. I'll be fine. That was my mindset back then. But then I started working out and being more physically active. And I think within 3 months of me working out consistently 3 days a week, in my living room with a set of 5-pound dumbbells that I bought at Goodwill, my back pain improved by almost 75-80%.
So like maybe like building like the weight loss aspect and then also building like back muscle to help support.
Absolutely.
That really did help you.
Yeah, the muscle
amazing.
was huge. It was like I got my life back.
So I mean like with gaining muscle mass, it takes. It's called like beginner gains, right? In the beginning, you have your like beginner gains. Sure. Oh yay! And then you start noticing yourself feeling a little better, and typically people will then stop. Mm-hmm. Like, do a lot of your clients have that similar story where they just kind of stop? Because I know earlier you were mentioning about how if you're not exhausted after the gym, or you don't push those muscles. Like for myself, I'll do like anywhere from six to 8 sets in 12 to 15 repetitions. And in the beginning, for the first like 3 or 4 sets, I'll do maybe 30 or 40% less the weight just to warm that muscle up. And then towards the end, that's when I'll really start hounding and increasing the weight. But is that what you kind of profess?
You asked a question and then told a story. So.
True.
That's what he does.
But newbie gains are definitely a thing. And so that can be, it's great because initially it's super exciting, right? You're like, oh, I'm losing all this weight, I'm starting to see muscle tone, and you gain so much strength in the early on stages, right? Because you are starting with those 5-pound dumbbells, and then it can be really mentally challenging and mentally taxing to keep going once the newbie gains stop, right? You kind of almost hit this like point of diminishing return where the results or the point A to point B difference that you would see that used to take 2 weeks now takes 6 months.
The plateau.
Yeah, exactly. And so that can be really mentally and emotionally taxing, especially for my clients who are a lot like me. Like, we're not just naturally fit. We don't just wake up and crave going to the gym. I don't get a runner's high. Like, I'm not like...
Never
understood I get the that. Runner's cry.
Yes.
Like, my eyes start... Like, I literally start crying.
Like, for me, even though I'm like a fitness influencer and an online health and wellness coach, like I had to stop calling myself a fitness coach and calling myself a health and wellness coach, because it's like I still have to force myself to work out, even though I have a freaking setup in my own house.
What gets you to get going to the gym, Jen? Jen's gym.
Jen's gym. I think having a really powerful why on why I'm working out. You know, like for me, I do think of the girl who was sitting in the backseat of her car in the fetal position and like so much excruciating pain, and I think of never wanting to experience that pain again. But I also think of the confidence that the gym can really build for me, like when I hit a new PR or when I really push myself. I'm definitely someone who is driven by accomplishments, and so, you know, it's kind of like you versus you in the gym, and so being able to hit that PR or hit that new thing and just feel this sense of pride at the end is really awesome.
What type of workouts do you usually recommend to people that are trying to lose weight? Like, is there a certain one that a lot of people say cardio.
That's a good question.
But I've heard a lot of backlash about that because
yeah,
it's a very interesting subject.
So it's interesting because a lot of weight loss advice is pushed together, but it should really be separated when it comes to men and women. At the end of the day, calorie deficit is the only thing that will allow you to lose fat. But how you experience the deficit is going to be different based off of diet history, genetics, bioavailability, things like that. And so the best exercise, and I could get canceled for saying this, it's putting the fork down and focusing on your nutrition first. Because again, it's a lot easier to eat 200 less calories a day than to go work off 200 calories in the gym.
True.
And that was something that I was really mindlessly eating. So I was eating way more calories than I thought. You know, I think like 3 Oreos would take 45 minutes of walking to counteract. Yeah.
Damn,
people don't think about it like that.
Yeah. Exactly. And it gets to a point where it can be dangerous, right? We definitely don't want to encourage any sort of like disordered eating styles.
Like counting.
And so we never want you to be like, wow, I just had 3 Oreos. I need to go for a 30-40 minute walk. Mm-hmm. But we do want to think about like, can I just have the 1 Oreo and enjoy it and be happy? Then when we're talking in the scope of weight loss, walking is technically the best workout for losing weight because it's low intensity. It keeps your heart rate down. Usually it forces you to get outside, which increases dopamine, serotonin, and reduces cortisol, reduces stress on the body. And so if you're trying to hormone hack yourself, walking would actually be my first thing. And then once you've built a daily habit of walking, that's when I would incorporate weightlifting over things like HIIT cardio, because HIIT cardio, HIIT classes, different things like that can lead to increased cortisol, which
and you need an increased appetite.
An increased appetite as well, and decreased metabolism.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yes.
Interesting.
And so that's why you may sometimes see people that are super into cardio, they have that term like skinny fat.
Yeah, heard of that.
Yeah, or a runner's belly. And so, again, like everyone's different. I know some people who run and they're freaking shredded, right? I know some people who run every day and they feel like their body doesn't reflect that. And so everyone is super unique. So also the best workout is the one that you can actually see yourself doing, the one that you enjoy, but also the one that your body responds most positively to. When I was doing HIIT classes at F45, which is just nothing against F45.
It's brutal. It's intense.
Yeah, it was brutal. It was intense. And I actually gained 10 pounds.
Of muscle?
No, of fat.
What?
Why do you think? Because your body was freaking out?
Yeah, it was the cortisol. And it was like primarily gain that weight in my stomach area, which I'm someone, I know right now you just see me from the top up, but I'm a lot more bottom heavy, if you will. And so for me, I knew because I was retaining that fat in my stomach and face,
that something was wrong.
Something was wrong, yeah.
That's really interesting because I feel like a lot of people think that cardio is like the number one answer.
Yeah.
Like with advertising and like even like workout classes, most of them prioritize like Barry's Boot Camp, which I used to do all the time to try to get myself to run, which isn't bad, but I think, do you agree with like switching up workouts too is better for like so your body doesn't get used to a certain workout? Because I've heard that as well.
It depends on your goals. So switching up in the form of progressive overload, So increasing weight, increasing reps, increasing time under tension, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing a different workout every single day, because then you're not really able to build and grow muscle through those reps. So it's a really interesting science behind. So here's the thing that I love, because I saw you had a question about like weight loss, fat loss myths and diets. Every single myth starts in fact, right? Like every rumor starts with a seed of truth. Otherwise, like how else would it begin? And so the reason why cardio is historically seen as the best workout for weight loss is because in those 60 minutes that you're doing high intensity cardio, you're burning the most calories. Let's just use round numbers. Like in an hour of cardio, maybe you burn 600 calories in your Barry's Bootcamp class. I don't know if you had like a watch to show you that.
I didn't, but it probably.
Okay, cool. And so you're like, wow, I burned 600 calories. Like, I'm awesome, right? But you're only burning calories during that workout. Now, you might go to the gym and work out for an hour, and you might only burn 300 calories, 400 calories in that hour workout. And you're like, well, shit, if I can burn 600 calories at Barry's Bootcamp or 350 calories at my own gym, like, why wouldn't I do the one to get the most bang for my buck? But there's a caveat. When you lift weights, your metabolism continues to burn calories and burn excess fat over the next 24 hours. I don't know the exact science behind it, but I believe it's a half-life. So hour 1, you might only burn 300 calories, but hour 2, you're burning 150. Hour 3, you're burning 75. Hour 4, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, do your own research. These are guesstimates behind it. But at the end of the day, you might have burned an additional 700 calories or 800 calories.
As the day goes on.
As the day goes on, compared to the 600 that you got in the class. And so that's why I think a lot of people think cardio is the best. But like science and studies have shown time and time again, walking and weightlifting, the number one thing for weight loss.
Very interesting. Very cool. Another question that I think, well, Jaden and I have been talking about this a lot.
What's up?
Friendships.
Okay.
Since you grew a following, do you think that your friends were supportive? Did they change their tune? Did they react to you different, hang out with you differently?
It's an interesting question, because I started growing my following a couple of years outside of school, and I feel like your friends in college can often be very different than your friends after college. So I will say I had some friends that were just like huge supporters, you know, like the rally girls that are like, let me take your photo for your Instagram, like let me help you, this and that. And I had some friends who were big judgers, and that's fine. That's part of their journey. Like we just weren't meant to be friends long term. So I've definitely had to reassess and reevaluate my friendships over the coming years. I think like a big thing that I've really had to learn is that nobody working harder than you is gonna criticize you or make fun of you. And so the friends in my circle now are incredibly supportive. But also like Instagram and TikTok, even though it's a big part of my life, it's not a big part of my personality outside of the platform. So this is funny. My boyfriend and I were having this conversation literally yesterday. So we're watching Love is Blind. I don't know if you guys...
Oh my gosh.
I've seen it.
It's
so
good.
I've seen like the little video
it's like,
thingy of it.
It's so my guilty pleasure, and he just watches it with me because it's so entertaining. But one of the girls is talking, and the guy is like, I feel like you have a big social media following. How many followers do you have? And she's like, yeah, it's kind of big, you know? And she's like, she's feeling herself. And he's like, well, how big? And she's like, it's just like 5,000 Instagram followers. And the guy is like, oh my God, that's so many. And I was like, okay, sure, yeah. But then I remember, and I looked at Brett and I said and I was like, that's not that many followers. I was like, it's a lot, but it's not that many.
Not enough to be like your own personality.
Right. Exactly. And Brett was like, well, I think that's a lot. And I was like, Brett, I have like 205,000 Instagram followers and 400 something on TikTok. Like, if you think 5,000, like, what do you think of me? And he was like, yeah, right? And he was like, honestly, Jen, I forget that, like, every single day. Because it's just not something that we talk about.
that definitely, I think, also probably living in San Diego kind of lets you be out of that bubble.
True.
Because I think if you, like, especially, I was living in LA last year, and a lot of people, even, they could have 5 followers, but their personality exudes that they're, like, you know, taking a picture of their matcha latte. And I'm not saying I'm guilty of that. Sure. But I think it's more so, like, the idea of, he makes fun of me, but the idea of, you know, having more of, like, a work-life balance and not just being on your phone. How do you cope with that? Or what are some tools that you use to not always be on work-wise?
Yeah, it's tough. There's definitely a balance and there's definitely a learning curve, because it's tough too, because my livelihood depends on my business, but my business depends on my social media platforms. And so when we are on vacation, or when we are out to a nice dinner, or when we are dressed up, or when I'm with my girlfriends, I do want to get that content because it's fun to show that aspect of my life. But I feel like I'm pretty good about, like, okay, let's have our little photo session, and then put the phones away. So one boundary that I've set that has been absolutely life-changing is, if I'm taking photos at something, like, or if I'm at an event, or if I'm with my friends, I'll take photos, and then the next day is when I'll post about it. So a lot of the content you see me posting is usually 1 or 2 days after it happened. My boyfriend and I just went on vacation, and all the content that I posted was, like, after we got home, because that way I could still be there, be fully present, get the content, use it. But why would I sacrifice a part of my vacation that I worked so hard for to
posting it all?
Exactly.
And just being on your phone, it's like, oh, I got a like, oh, this, that, and the other, because then you're just spending most of your time staring at your damn phone.
Right. And I've definitely been guilty of that, don't get me wrong.
I mean, get it.
It's such a dopamine rush when you have a video go viral and you're getting tons of likes and follows and different things. And especially for me, knowing that it's like, yeah, I'm getting a lot of likes, but it also has purpose and meaning, and I'm changing lives, and I'm helping people with that, and I'm educating people with that. So I've definitely, though, had to have friends and or partners be like, can we please put the phone away? Like, can we just be together?
Enjoy the moment.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a balance.
Awesome. I will say that I was looking through your TikTok, and it is very inspirational, and I love it. Especially, I'm vegetarian, and I saw that you were doing, I think you had, like, a series on protein.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to talk about that, because I feel like that's a big topic in the wellness world, about how much protein should you be getting intake every day.
And where does she get it from?
Yeah, where do vegetarians get protein from?
Being a meat eater, I'm saying, like, we go to the restaurant, oh, she'll just have side dishes.
They're not side dishes,
you know
that's what
I mean?
he calls them.
Love that. Protein as a vegetarian, tough but not impossible. And so I love that people are having the conversation about protein. It's the most important macronutrient, and it really is a key when it comes to weight loss, fat loss, and also muscle growth. And I think, again, men more naturally lean towards high protein foods because men are freaking hungry and they know a high protein meal will fill them up. Whereas, like, women, we're, like, a little bit more dainty eaters.
We snack more.
Yeah, we snack more, and the snacks are more carby, and that's totally fine. Carbs are so good for you. So when it comes to protein, everyone's needs are going to be different. Something that you can do if you're curious on what your own personal protein numbers could be is just take your goal weight, which your goal weight could be your current weight, or it could be higher or lower, and then you would multiply it by 0.6 or 0.8 and kind of give yourself a range. So for example, if your goal weight was 150 pounds multiplied by 0.8, that'd be 120 grams of protein per day to promote weight loss, fat loss. If you're just trying to maintain, you could probably do 100 grams.
Okay, cool.
And then as a vegetarian, though, you can give yourself that permission slip to eat less. So maybe 80 or 90 grams instead of 100. At the end of the day, anything that you do, give yourself a 10% margin of error, plus or minus.
So do you feel as though being vegetarian, how do you feel about going about, like, how do I say
Watch
this?
what you say.
I'm trying. Like keeping, like gaining more muscle rather than fat, because I do know that, like I have some friends who are vegetarian as well, but like it's confusing. I'm just like, how?
Sure. Well, one of my best friends is a vegan fitness coach. He's shredded.
What is it? Well, how the heck does he do that? Because I'm over here like, okay, sure, I'll try going vegetarian, Tiffany. And then I'm like,
I never asked you to.
I know you never asked me to, but I'm like to, try. I would like to, but I just don't know. Like, okay, I can't eat chicken. Dang. Eggs? Nope.
Right.
Steak?
Right. I mean, you just really have to take that extra step. So being vegan, being vegetarian is not for the faint of heart, and it's not for the lazy eaters either, right? Like, you have to be super intentional. You have to do your research, and you will typically end up eating processed foods, but you can find those high quality ingredient processed foods. You'll definitely need a protein powder to supplement, but I hear from a good source that you have a good amount of vegan protein powder stocked up. And then tofu products, soy, edamame, seitan. And honestly, like, with the growth of technology and also the growth of information around the benefits of veganism and the environmental impact of the meat industry, more and more products have become available and created to really make it so that you don't have to miss out on chicken nuggets. You now get meatless chicken nuggets and meatless meatballs.
He has tried those.
I still find it really mind-blowing. I'm like, hey Tiff, you like the I'm gonna tell him, do you like the chicken nugget you're eating? She's like, yeah, I love it. And I'm like, okay, great. You know what it tastes like? Chicken.
Yeah. Well, she never said she was vegetarian because she didn't like the taste of meat.
Yeah, no, I grew up vegetarian, so I've never had anything.
No way.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, so he's been learning a lot about I guess mostly I think with the vegetarian or vegan diet, it's a lot more carb heavy.
Yeah.
A lot less protein heavy.
Right.
So it's been an interesting, especially with like the subject of soy and it not being so good for you to have too much of, and that's pretty much, I'd say, most of the protein for vegetarians is soy.
But if it's not soy, people are dunking on ground beef because it's too high fat and too processed, and there's too many hormones in the beef. And if it's not the beef, it's the chicken, and it's like
everything.
People are going to have an opinion about everything, and so again, back to the bio-individuality. It's like, what do you feel best eating?
Exactly. I was going to ask you too, on the subject of, you said protein is really good for weight loss. Would you say that eating more protein is better? Like, it's better to eat more food to lose weight? Because a lot of people think that they should be eating less.
Yeah, so you want to be in a caloric deficit, but you probably don't need to be in as big of a caloric deficit as you think. Like, I remember being 13 years old and wanting to go on a diet and, calculating my stuff, and it, pops up 1,200 calories a day to maximize weight loss. But there is a point when you're eating too little to where your metabolism adapts and thinks, oh, okay, well, if this is all I'm going to get for the rest of forever.
It slows down.
It slows down your metabolism as a survival mechanism. And so your healthy deficit for women is usually somewhere between 1,500 calories a day to 2,000 calories a day in order to lose weight. And when you are in a deficit, though, you're naturally more hungry because you're eating fewer calories. And protein is the macronutrient that makes you feel the fullest the longest. And so when you're eating lots of protein, it helps reduce cravings. It helps you feel fuller longer. It helps you feel more satisfied. And it also helps reduce your cortisol, which again reduces stress, boosts metabolism. It's like the most important macronutrient specifically for weight loss, fat loss.
Wow. Sorry, I'm like really processing that. That's amazing. So pretty much is what you're saying is a lot of, you can lose weight while eating enough food to not feel super hungry.
Yes.
Which I think a lot of people think that, I guess also when you were talking about metabolism, when you eat less, you're also less active because you're so tired.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it is important to be eating food, and that's what makes it sustainable too. 97% of people who lose weight gain it back within 3 years because they lost it in a very restrictive way, where the second they go back to eating regular diet habits, regular lifestyle habits, they gain it back. And so it's really about finding like, well, how do I eat in a 300 calorie deficit per day instead of a 1,000 calorie deficit?
That makes a lot of sense. I guess it's all about how you can incorporate it in a day-to-day lifestyle balance.
Yeah.
Awesome. Another thing that I wanted to touch on was how did you grow your following? Was it more so, did you post a certain amount of times every day? Did you, because a lot of people I think have this misconception of the more you post the better, or was it more like curated towards, as you said, helping people? Was it more you're trying to get the more, not, I don't want to say useful, but the more informative things that people can take away from content?
I think there is a balance, and everyone grows in different ways. Every video I've seen on here's how to grow your TikTok is like, you need to be posting 3 to 7 times a day, otherwise nobody's gonna follow you. I've never posted on TikTok 3 times a day. I'm lucky if I post once a day. Initially, it was maybe a couple of times a week. I think the biggest thing is providing value and being very genuine and authentic in the delivery of that. People have become, I think people can really sniff the bullshit from a mile away, and they can tell whether or not you are genuinely trying to teach them something to help them, or whether or not you're just trying to build an audience to become an influencer to make a shit ton of money.
And sell them things.
So be more personable.
Yeah, I think it's just like actually caring about your audience and just being very genuine and being very engaged. And like, I'll call myself your diet culture demystifying internet big sis. Because at the end of the day, it's like, I don't care if you follow me. I don't care if you sign up for my program. I don't care if you like do this thing. Like, my only motive being on social media is to help people demystify diet culture, which is really freaking confusing for a lot of people, and just like provide value and just help again shift this culture to a more empowering, positive mindset instead of all the like fluff and false information out there. And I think because I'm not an influencer selling you a product, there's a lot more trust, because I'm not like, oh guys, check out this new lotion I just got, or this new supplement, this new this. It's like, no, let me teach you how many calories you need to eat to lose weight. Here's the high protein recipe that I just made for my boyfriend and I in under 20 minutes, and I have enough leftovers for lunch for the next 3 days. So providing value, and market research is really important too. So with the growth, it's not like I was just throwing pasta at the wall and seeing what's stock. I was researching hours and hours every single week, sometimes every single day. Like, what are people posting that is getting high engagement? What are people posting that a lot of others are sharing? So that I could see, if I'm gonna spend all this time and energy on the content, what are people already engaging with? So that, again, I know if they engage with it, they see it as valuable. I want to provide value. Therefore, let me model my videos after the successful behavior of others providing massive value.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think also, as you were saying, because you don't sell a product, you're selling yourself. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how is that kind of how your business model, I don't want to say works, but it's kind of how it's been successful, because you've been
I think
building up your brand.
Building the brand, building the audience. I have a high level of trust with my following, because I'm not coming on being like, hey, look at this new product or this new partnership or this new thing. Like, they know that I have no ulterior motive. Of course, I would love for all of my followers to join my program and go through that life-changing experience. But at the end of the day, like, I don't expect them to do that, and I let my clients come to me. So all the clients that sign up, it's through inbound messages. Hey Jen, I want to join your program. How do I sign up? Versus me being in the DMs like, hey, want to lose some weight?
What's your success rate? In
terms of clients, you mean?
Yeah. I mean, obviously you're in business, so you're getting a lot. But just out of curiosity, then again, you probably have to go based off of like who actually uses the program to the T.
Yeah, I mean, I would say we've worked with almost 1,000 clients in the 5.5 years that we've been in business, and we get a 95% satisfaction rate. That's actually pretty amazing. Yeah. Wow. I mean, I don't know anything different, so I say that and I'm like, well, it should be 100. But it's hard to measure. That's just, I would say that's the client satisfaction, right? Because we survey them like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied are you with your experience? Success rate's really hard to measure, right? Because one client might see success as losing 50 pounds, which, like, I do have a client, Janine, right now. She just hit 50-pound weight loss. Like, I'm super stoked for her. She's down 4 pant sizes. Like, she looks freaking amazing. But another client, she might see success as, I lost 5 pounds, but I now have a better relationship with food and I'm more consistent in the gym. So I just got off a different call with a client, Stephanie, who I think she lost 10 pounds in 6 months, but she wanted to lose, like, her goal was 25, like, in 6 months. And I asked her, I was like, well, are you happy with your results? And she was like, honestly, everything that I've been through in the last 6 months with my family, with my house, with all these other things, like, I'm just so glad that I was consistent and stuck to something that, yes, I'm 10 out of 10 happy. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And do you ever get, I guess, like weight being a number, I guess some people just kind of throw numbers out there too.
Yeah.
Do you get that a lot where you're kind of like, people will be like, I want to lose 30 pounds, and then they lose 10 and they're like, actually, I think I feel good in my own skin?
Absolutely. And so that's something that I definitely focus on and encourage other people to focus on too, is I'll usually ask them, like, do you have a weight loss goal in mind? If they give me one, then we'll follow up though with be like, is that your happy weight? So I kind of reframe goal weight to happy weight, where it's like, well, is it about being 170 pounds, or is it just about feeling confident and comfortable in your skin and different things like that? Because our body changes over time, right? Your 20s are different than your 30s, which are different than your 40s. Postpartum is different than prepartum. And so like, it's just not fair to expect yourself to be the weight that you were when you were 17 years old and you weren't working full time and you were playing sports every single day and your parents were making your meals. Like, it's just not realistic. So we also really focus on the emotional aspect of how you feel instead of just the number on the scale.
That's awesome. And I guess that's also going back to what Jaden was saying about motivation. Mm-hmm. It's, if you're only motivated by the way you look, you're not going to, like, if you're not getting results instantly, you're going to stop doing whatever you're doing.
Exactly.
It's more about the feeling and...
Yeah.
Right, Jaden? Because he hasn't worked out in a couple of weeks and he's been feeling it.
I have an issue for him. Well, the reason as to why.
Sure.
Massive cyst on my back. I couldn't lay on the damn. It was bad. Shoot, I forgot what I was going to say.
About the feeling of working out.
Yes, it does feel amazing. And I was told by this gentleman named Ryan. It was like an old coworker from years ago, and he was like, you need to get in the gym. And I was like, yeah, whatever. He was like, dude, trust me, if you just continuously lift weights like 6-7 days a week, do your routine, don't just focus on one body part, and don't look at yourself in the mirror. He's like, you see yourself every single day.
Yep.
And you're going to notice absolutely no difference. Wait until people start noticing you.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, cool. So I didn't see anyone for like a good, 3 months or 4 months. I was taking some stuff, and then I noticed, I was like, whoa, this is cool. And they're like, whoa, what the heck happened to you?
Yeah.
You look way different. You look healthy now. You don't look sick. And I'm like, okay, thanks, man.
Thanks. I didn't know you felt that way about me before. Interesting. Well, yeah, I mean, that's why taking progress photos is super important, because you do see yourself in the mirror every single day, and so you might not notice those changes that are happening over the course of weeks or months. Mm-hmm. So progress photos, measurements, and the scale, because sometimes you gain muscle at the same rate that you're losing fat. Your weight will be the exact same, but you'll still go down 1 or 2 pant sizes.
Yep.
Or in your case, go up.
Like which actually we had a thing to do, and that was pretty fun.
He outgrew all of his clothes, and he got very upset. I'm like, this is how women feel, when we're wearing skinny jeans and they're not comfortable, or wearing high heels and they're not comfortable. He's like, I can't deal with that.
Yeah.
It's very expensive.
It's true, but worth it.
So with building your business, what hardships did you face? Was it all pretty, as you were saying, it was definitely not an easy road?
Yeah.
What did you learn from creating an LLC and doing that all yourself?
Being a business owner and entrepreneur can be very lonely, I think, has been the biggest thing that I've experienced. And while now I can be like, yeah, I only work 40 to 50 hours a week. It's like, that wasn't the case. So even after I quit my job, I was still working 80 hours. It was just like all 80 hours were on my business. And all of my free time was on my business. And all of my mental thoughts were on my business, which they still pretty much are. But you really, in my experience, like, have to be all in, and you have to be willing to put it all on the line. Like, when I invested in my first business mentor, it was literally every penny that I had, which again wasn't much. I was 24 years old, but I had to literally be willing to invest in my life savings to see, is this going to work? And you have to be very strategic and really trust your gut. I found the times when I've gone against my gut and acted more from a place of scarcity have been when I've made some of the worst decisions in my business. So bad investments, mentors that just weren't the right fit, softwares that I knew were just like not aligned for us. And I think just being really congruent with your mission, because it is super exhausting. Like, I don't think I've ever met an entrepreneur that was like, starting my business was so easy. Like,
no, I've always heard it was difficult too. Like when I started my first, for an example, I mean, this dude was telling me, he was like, yeah, everyone says it's hard, it's difficult, but they don't tell you how, because they don't know how.
yeah.
You know, like no one's putting in the footwork to figure this out. They have this wonderful idea and then
Right.
they forget about it next week. They didn't write it down. They didn't really look at how this is supposed to be. Actually, on a previous episode, we were discussing about how it's really it's difficult for sure, but it's simple. I mean, it's actually there on Google. It'll tell you like breakdowns on how to do these things.
Exactly. All the information you need is readily available to you. You just have to be willing to put in the work to research it and implement.
I mean, no one knows anything about going into any business. It's all learn along the way. Starting a podcast, for example, learn along the way.
Well, I guess as long as you're passionate about it, right? As you were
Yeah.
saying, you have a mission of helping people. That kept you going, right?
It's a mental thing, right?
Oh, exactly. Because again, it's so hard. Or you get like that first bad review, or the first upset client, or the first tough call, and you're just like, you feel so devastated because all you want to do is do a good job. And it's also really tough because I feel like 80% of business coaches or social media, since we've talked about that a lot, I can't tell you how many girlies I see go viral on Instagram or TikTok being like, here's how you can grow your TikTok and go viral on TikTok. It's like, well, you're going viral because those people want to know how to go viral.
So many people are doing that.
But the next video is like 300 views.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's like, also down on Instagram a lot, there's business coaches that are like, here's how I'm making this much money in my, passive course online, teaching people how to make money in their passive course online.
And they make it look so easy.
Right, exactly. And I'm like, well, you're successful because you're literally selling the product that people want. But if they're not selling a B2B thing, like B2C, which is coaching, is so much more difficult than B2B. Because anything B2B, it's a business write-offs, right? So people just like swipe the card, no big deal. If I lose money, it's fine. I'll write it off on my taxes. I'll make the money back. But on B2C, people are a lot more hesitant to make that jump because it's like they're now paying out of their own pocket, not their business bank account. And so with entrepreneurship, I think being all in, being aligned, being focused on helping people, but it is really hard. The first couple of years I was missing out on birthday parties, vacations, travel. Like I remember constantly saying everything I got invited to, I was like, no, I'm sorry. I have calls, I have meetings, I have this business trip. Like, I really missed out on life for 3 years. And it wasn't until I started to build and grow a team that I was able to have a little bit more freedom in my life. Like, I just went on vacation last week, and that was like one of the first vacations I've taken in years where it was like, I picked the destination, I booked the flights, and I went there because I wanted to, not because it was like a work trip or a wedding trip or like an obligation. Of course, I'm so grateful to have had all those experiences, but it took 5 years to get to a point where I could feel like
You have more control over your life.
Right. Or if I log off for a week, like last year, I was really, really lucky to spend a week with my boyfriend's family. And I knew that I wouldn't have reliable cell service where we were going. So it was my first time being offline for a week in my business since starting it 5 years ago.
That could be scary.
It was terrifying.
Yeah. Actually, the funniest thing is like people expect that you take all these vacations and you just do whatever you want because you own your own business. No, not necessarily. You got to put in you got to sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's like if you're like I was talking about Reba's episode again. We'll bring it up again. Is if you're gonna just like if you're living in a place where you are and you're not happy where you're at, make a life change, downsize. Yeah. And invest your money and invest your time and to get to where you want. But you're gonna be there for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And it's tough because a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners start their business because they want that freedom. They're like, I don't want to report to someone else. I don't want to be stuck in a 9 to 5. I want to be able to go where I want, when I want, with who I want. And then they start their business and they realize they had way more freedom at their 9 to 5 because they got home at 5 o'clock and nobody could reach them. But they got home Friday night and nobody talked to them until Monday. They took their 2 weeks PTO and it was actually respected. Now, I'm sure there's some people where that wasn't the case. God bless my accountant. She called me 4 times today. And I was like, Sangeeta, are you taking the weekend off? And she was like, no, girl, not until April 15th. It's tax season. Yeah. So everyone's a little bit different, but I do think a lot of entrepreneurs start their business for freedom. But if you're starting your business with freedom as the sole goal, I think you're really setting yourself up for failure, because you have to be dedicated and committed, especially in those early years, and you have to be willing to make the tough calls, make the tough sacrifices, and take big risks. Because if I had never taken a risk, I think I would probably still be at my job just doing this part-time.
Honestly, that's really refreshing to hear, because I think, especially with social media being so prevalent, people make it look easy.
Yeah.
And then people are like, yeah, I'm gonna create my own company. And maybe it's the American dream aspect of it too. I don't really know. But I think our age, people think it's so much easier than like our parents think, just because people glamorize it.
I think it's super glamorized, which, you know, like there are some people where it is very glamorous, I'm sure. Like they do just set their own schedule and they do have different things. But like, at least, you know, if you're doing an online course where you're not necessarily dealing and talking to people, you probably do have a pretty chill, laid back schedule. But if you're in a customer service, like B2C, dealing with your clients every single day, it's going to be a little bit more mentally and emotionally taxing, because you actually have that relationship and that connection.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think it's all about, as you said, putting in the effort. And it's just a numbers game of you continuously going and putting in, sticking things at the wall, seeing if they stick.
Yeah. And a story of perseverance. Like I will say, probably every 6 months, I kind of go through my biannual, like, is this what I should be doing? Like, should I quit? Should I give it all up? Should I go get a normal job? Should I go back to school and get my MBA and get a job at Google, like my mom's been begging me to for years? But I think of my purpose and I'm like, no, like, I just don't want to do that. I know that I'm helping people. I know that I'm making a difference, and I know that I'm impacting the world. So for as long as I can do that, while still making sure that there's a roof over my head and groceries in my fridge, like, that's what I'm going to do.
And then you're just giving up on one thing, and then you're going to give up on the next thing and the next thing, and it's like a train ride to nowhere.
Or I guess also like a plan B, right? Everyone talks about...
I hate plan Bs. Not like that. The other kind of plan B, where it's like, here's my option A, what I'll be doing in my plan B. I feel as though personally that having a plan B just sets you up for failure. That's just my take on it. What do you think?
I never had a plan B. It was like, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to go all in. If it doesn't work, I'll figure it out.
And you'll make it work.
Yeah, I'll make it work. If not this, then I'll try something else.
Why can't I goes in my head often.
Yeah.
They're doing it. Why can't I?
Exactly. I was like, if so-and-so can do it, I can do it too. Whereas I think some people have this mindset of like, well, if this person's successful, then it's oversaturated and there's no room for me. Whereas I see it as, well, this person's successful. If she can do it, I can do it too. Like, there's room for everyone to have a seat at the table.
Beautifully said.
Okay, I have one more question that I've been dying to ask.
Okay.
Networking. Do you find it hard being in the social media space, trying to network with people? I know you said it's mostly inbound, but when you were starting off and you said you kind of wanted to get it started on YouTube, a lot of people have, especially women, have a hard time going out there as you're kind of the face of your brand.
Sure.
Kind of, how do you go about that?
Well, I'm super introverted. And so there's a reason why I like to be on social media instead of like speaking on a stage. So networking is really interesting because I would say I haven't done a ton of it. So I don't know that I have a super eloquent answer, but I think it's just being open to every single opportunity, responding to every single DM, like meeting every single person that would like to meet with you, because you never know where it could end up. Like one of my best friends, she and I met in a super unconventional way where there were probably a dozen reasons why I should have been like, no, I don't want to go like grab coffee or drinks with you. But instead I was like, F it, let me just see what happens. And now she's literally one of my best friends. So I think it's being open to every opportunity and also just going into any relationship and dynamic with no judgment, whether it's judgment of yourself or judgment of others. Because I think we're all really self-critical and very insecure and very self-judgmental of like, oh, people aren't going to like me because I'm too this or I'm too that, or I'm not enough this or I'm not enough that. When in reality, again, it's like people that are genuine, kind-hearted, they're not going to judge you for how many followers you have or how big your business is, or how early on you are or how late on you are. Like, they're really going to see you as that equal, and those are the people that you want
in your circle.
Corner. Yeah, exactly. Because the people that are going to judge you and care about those things, like, do you really want them in your circle?
Yeah, we've been talking about this a lot. It's mostly like their projected insecurities.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like, everyone has their stuff, but you don't want them projecting onto you.
Yeah.
You've got your own stuff going on.
Yeah, exactly. And I think just like being willing to ask friends too, like, hey, do you know anyone who is an expert in this or who knows stuff about this? Like, I remember I was curious about real estate once, and so I asked my friend, like, hey, do you have any friends that work in real estate? Right? Versus just like Google searching real estate professionals. So getting those networking referral opportunities are really, really helpful as well.
That's actually really smart because it makes the world a lot smaller.
Yes.
You don't realize who you know or who's in your network. I think the LinkedIn trap of you have everybody on your fingertips, but also like there's everybody on this one website and you don't know where to start.
Yeah.
I find a lot of people get really, I don't know what the right word is, not in over their head, but kind of just very overwhelmed.
Totally. And I think giving without the expectation of receiving is really, really big, especially if it's in social media networking, right? It's like posting content without the expectation of the like or the follow or the anything like that, or responding to a DM like, yeah, girl, let me help you out, and just like sending them the link to your t-shirt or the recipe that you tried and different things like that. And you never know who that person is then going to connect you with or tell about your platform. Like, you literally never know what opportunity could be there. So just being non-judgmental, being open-minded, and just like being a girl's girl. Like, obviously guys are fine and they're welcome. My following's 95% female. Being that girl's girl that's just like super supportive and again like very kind, genuine interest in other people, you'd be amazed at the types of doors that can open up for you as long as you're coming from a wholehearted place.
That's awesome, and that makes a lot of sense. I feel like people, as you said, can see right through ingenuineness.
Yeah.
So as long as you're genuine, and as you said, your mission is amazing because it's helping people and nobody can really argue with your genuineness because you're not selling things, you're giving a lot. The thing I thought was really cool about your content too was it was very bite-sized, meaning like you could have a minute-long TikTok talking about things that are a lot more complex, or people make them seem a lot more complex.
Sure.
Which is awesome in terms of young women and men just trying to figure out like what should I believe, what shouldn't I believe,
right?
Which is pretty awesome in terms of, you know, taking out some of the fluff, which I think is really cool. Like, that's really awesome because I feel like some people just talk and talk and talk, and it's hard to decipher. Like, I could be sitting on a YouTube video or even like a TikTok that's now 20 minutes long.
Right.
And people will talk for 15 minutes, talk about whatever to sell a probiotic. And then at the end, you're like, oh, they were just selling a probiotic, not giving me advice on whatever they were supposed to be telling me.
It's tough because, again, like fitness, weight loss, and fat loss can be really freaking confusing if you're sticking to the science of it. So I have one coach on my team. She's absolutely amazing, and she's so freaking smart. She's got her master's in kinesiology, master's in exercise, and master's of nutrition, and she just finished her PhD of nutrition. So when she talks about creatine, she can give a 20-minute lecture on how creatine breaks down in the body and the science behind it and all the cool things. And it's really freaking cool. And some people love the 20 minutes of science, and some people are like, can you tell me in 60 seconds why I should or shouldn't take it, what the benefits are, who it's for and who it's not. And everyone has a different learning style. I'm more short form, whereas she's more long form, right? Sounds like you're more short form as well. Because for me, I don't care about the science so much. I just care about how does it actually affect me, and like what are the facts. Like, explain it to me like I'm a fifth grader.
And I think that's definitely why a lot of people resonate with your content, coming from like an outsider's perspective, which is really awesome in terms of like the bite size, like, oh, I'm, you know, doing whatever and I want to learn about this, and they can watch 10 of your videos in the time that they'd watch a YouTube video, which is really cool.
Absolutely. And, you know, I have a question for you guys, because we spent this whole podcast talking about me, which maybe it's supposed to all be about me. But we talked a lot about, we've talked a lot about my mission and my vision and, you know, what I'm creating. But, like, what do you feel like your mission is that's going to keep you going as you're building this podcast?
Jaden, do you want to answer?
I'm going to let you take this one.
Okay. I think the reason why I wanted to start this podcast was because I think society puts a lot of pressure on young people into finding exactly what they're supposed to do with their life. Mm-hmm. And usually that is, as we were discussing, like, you get good grades in high school, then you go to a good college, then you get a good job, and you kind of just live off of like working and then going home until you retire.
Yeah.
And for me, it didn't really work out that way. I went to a good school. I went to film school, and then COVID, and then we were on strike for a year, and then now it's kind of like a weird time in the film industry. So I think, and I'm talking to a lot of my friends as well who, you know, went to school, even may have like a corporate job that on paper seems amazing. Mm-hmm. They're miserable. Yeah. They hate their lives. On paper, on Instagram, they look super happy, but then they're calling me, telling me how they're so stressed out, they're not passionate about what they're doing. And I think that there's like an issue in the system, or like a misconception about the number one priority is to be happy and doing what you love, as well as obviously making a living and being able to support yourself.
Right.
But I think society makes it out to be a one linear path to success, and not a single person that I know has one linear line to success, unless you're maybe a doctor or a lawyer and you have to do certain schooling, but even then, not really. So we really wanted to interview people that, like yourself, have really cool stories that, you know, you changed your life path, or you found something you're passionate about, and you had a bunch of different corners of how to get to where you were. It wasn't like one straight line, as you said, growing and making different decisions and taking risks, and just try to inspire people, no matter how old they are, but especially our age demographic, to go after what makes you excited. Not just, you know, get a job working at, as you said, Google because it looks good on paper and please your family members. Because if that's not going to light you up, then you're just going to be living for other people's expectations and dreams.
Right.
So that's kind of why I thought getting people's stories out there, getting people excited, getting people inspired would really change people's mindsets, as you said. Like, mindset is so important.
Yeah. I love that, because I feel like millennials and Gen Z, Gen Z, like, we feel very lost. Like, the worlds that our parents lived in and the world that our grandparents lived in is incredibly different than the world that we live in today. And yet our parents and grandparents are so quick to criticize. But that model of the world doesn't exist anymore with the growth of social media and tech and AI and these industries. It's like the game has completely changed. Even if you think of like the housing markets, right? Like, I love the videos where it's like, here's how much money you would have to make to own a median house in 1990. And, you know, it was like you had to have $50,000 or like $40,000 a year salary to buy an $80,000 house. So it was just, your salary was like 50% of the value of the house, right? Where it's like, and here's how much money you would have to make now to afford a house. And it's like absolutely insane. Yeah,
you got to spend like 10 years.
Saving up.
Most people 10 years saving up just to get that property, and I don't know. It's just it still boggles me, you know.
Right. I think now the median household income is like 1/10 of the value of the median home. Mm-hmm. So it went from 50% to 10%, which is gonna set you back. So you either have to live at home, save up your money, or you're just stuck renting forever.
Live minimalistically.
Yeah. Absolutely.
There, I got it out.
But yeah, I love that you're inspiring people to take the path that's best for them, because if we spend 40 hours a week working, that's like a quarter of our life. I think
it's definitely a good chunk of our week, at least, where you should at least like what you do. You don't need to love it,
Exactly.
But you should like it, because if you don't,
you're just going to get bored.
But you're living on the weekends, and then you're just spending your money trying to entertain yourself on the weekends. And what kind of fun is that?
I think it's a third of our waking hours, because if you're asleep 8 hours a night, then 16, it's like actually half of your wake. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You deserve to have a job. It doesn't have to be a job that you're in love with, but a job that you can enjoy and feel fulfilled by. I would choose hand over fist fulfillment over making a bunch of money at a job where I don't feel purpose and joy.
And that's why I was when Jaden told me we were having you on, I was super excited, because I think your mission is exactly in line with what we were trying to do, is just inspire people and make them better off than when you found them, whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever it may be. Just trying to get people to be comfortable and confident in where they are now, which I think is the biggest battle of, like, yes, you're trying to change yourself, whatever it may be, losing weight, having a better mindset, or, changing your career path, whatever it is.
Sure.
But you have to start with, what do you like about yourself now? Because if you're just trying to be something, if you're not getting there fast enough, you're going to stop. You're going to give up. Or you're just going to be craving this, hopeful version, like fictional version of yourself. Or maybe it is down the line that you'll never be satisfied when you get there, because you were never happy. You're always going to want something else.
Yeah, you're always going to be chasing something bigger, something better. When it comes to health, I've always said it's about loving yourself towards healthy instead of hating yourself towards skinny. Because if you're hating yourself towards skinny, you're never going to be skinny enough, right? But if you're just loving yourself towards healthy, well, you can be healthy within a matter of a couple of days or a couple of weeks versus having to wait for your body to respond. So definitely finding joy and fulfillment in the process is huge.
I love that's a really great way of turning that around. I love that, especially for young women. I love the way you said that, like phrased it. That's amazing.
Thank you.
So where can we find you? Tell us where can we find you on socials? Where can we book for your coaching? Tell us about it.
Yeah, I guess you can find me on Instagram and TikTok, Jen's Gym. It's Jen with a G, so GENSGYM. I'll be your diet culture demystifying internet big sis. There's a link in my bio that links to coaching, but you guessed it, it's just jensgym.com. And that's pretty much it. I also have, if you're maybe not someone who needs coaching but just want recipes, I've got the Balanced Fit Girl cookbook. And so that was super cool because that was featured on Business Insider and wound up going viral on MSN, which is just shopjensgym.com. There's like super cool recipe book. It's over 100 recipes on just like weight loss, fat loss, but also balanced nutrition as well.
We will put all this into the
description.
Thank you. And you can find us, of course, at stressful2successful.com or on any and all platforms. Thank you so much for being on our show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, you guys.